Hey, Tourpreneurs, it's Mitch Bach, and just a quick note before we begin today's episode. Tourpreneur is currently sponsored by Google. We're thankful for their support of our community, and we are offering with them a completely free course helping you unlock the power and potential of Google's Things to Do program, which is specifically helping tour operators add their tours to Google in new ways that gives you new exposure and more direct bookings. To learn more, go to tourpreneur.com/Google. And as always, show notes, more resources, links to our newsletter, our business coaching community, and so much more are available on tourpreneur.com. Now to the episode.
Good morning to another episode of Tourpreneur podcast. And this morning, I'm very proud to welcome Sachin Bansal. Sachin Bansal is from India. And this is the first time, I'm sad to say, because we should have had more operators on from India in the past, but we haven't. But today, Sachin, you're the first operator that we've had on from the great continent of India. Sachin is a multi-award winning tourism operator based in India. He's a destination experience specialist. He's got over 20 years experience in this sector. His companies have looked after prime ministers, looked after presidents, and many other senior executives. He operates companies called City Explorers and Regenerative Travel, but then wait for it. Some of the brands Sachin is looking after: India City Walks, India Heritage Walks, India City Discovery, Storytellers of India, India with Locals, India Food Trails, Spirited Trails, Water Heritage Walks, and Delhi Walks. I'm tired just saying all of that, Sachin, so I know you must be one busy, busy man. So one of the reasons I invited Sachin on is because I've been following him for a long time on various social channels, reading what he's been doing, looking at what he's been doing, watching some videos of what he's been doing. And he's building his tour operations in a very different way from what many of us have built in the past and many operators and Tourpreneur are building at the moment. So I want to dive into the way that Sachin's been scaling his businesses up over the years and the driving force behind some of this. So Sachin, to start off, can you just give our viewers an overview? Obviously, I mentioned lots of brands there. Just give us an overview of what you're doing as a tour operator in India.
First of all, Peter, thank you very much for having me, especially being the first one from India. It's again a proud moment for me and for my business, Having said that, we have been in tourism for long now, and the business that we have developed over a period of time, it is regional based, and we culminated the identities region by region, identified locals, and created brands to deliver authentic experiences and also provide local immersion. Much of the time, we have been asked for special interest tours to India, special interest sightseeing to India, and special interest experiences to India. End of the day, all these products that we create and the brands that you have just named, they are target audience focused. Not each brand is similar to what will be required by a A party or a B party. What B party will require will not be accepted by A party. So there are a lot of tweaks and there are a lot of focused delivery mechanics which goes into. The business model has been a purely for-profit business. We are not an NGO. We support skill development, capacity building, so that we are able to control the experience and create customer delight.
You mentioned, and a lot of the work I've seen that you've produced in the past, it's focused on the people on the ground, real life experiences of what's happening in cities and happening in villages and happening in rural areas of India, because I know you're operating all over India, but it's this focus of real life experiences rather than curated experiences for the traveler that the traveler thinks they're going to see. You're actually engaging the local communities not just engaging, but training and investing time in the local communities to create real life experiences for the traveler to experience?
So business has been divided into three parts. From business, I mean the tourism products, the tourism offerings. It is curated India, it is handpicked India, and third is EQ encounters, which is emotional content encounters. Now, all these three high-level verticals, they further get divided into our products, what we offer in terms of walks, in terms of experiences, in terms of impact initiatives. Mm-hmm. Now, when a customer is looking forward to a product which is an interesting sightseeing local product, then that product is being delivered based on the economies of scale the person is or the visitor is desiring. By that I mean, if they want to do a walk, the walk is priced at certain level. If they want to get into a sightseeing for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, it is being priced at certain level. And also the delivery standard varies between a resource person who is delivering based on his or her knowledge, expertise also. So the hierarchy of the delivery standards we have got walk meters, we have got city explorers, we have got city mavericks, we have got food tourists. And all these nomenclature have become industry standard for us. They are intellectual properties, and which we have been using freely in the market to showcase the competency that we bring on tourism sector.
I do know that, again, from reading some of the stuff that you've published in the past, you're not just focused on the locals and training some of the locals to engage with the tourism going there, but you're acting as a hub where you've got education providers, where you've got corporate companies involved, where you've got academia involved, you've got government agencies involved. So you seem to be acting as a hub where you're pooling all of these different agencies that every single destination in the world has all of these agencies as well, but not many tour operators are engaging with them all, engaging in a way that gets them involved in the actual tour delivery and the understanding of what you're trying to achieve as a tour operator with the local people.
I would say, rather than a tour operator, we are experiences operators, and to showcase authentic India. And to show something in an authentic manner, you need research, you need academia, you need local resources to tell the stories. When we started the business, the vision was to create the business in a sustainable manner. Then we saw sustainability as a word for environment. And then we went across to inclusiveness. Then we got inclusion by involving many locals on board. This has been done with the vision to create that emotive connect with India, integrated with advancements of creativity, advancements of showcase, and also access. Much of the time when you are in India, sometimes it also becomes assault on senses. There are a lot of smells, sound, sights, which are very different from rest of the world, and in true sense, everything has a story around it. Everything has a fusion around it. And this is how we have been refreshing tourism products based on seasonalities. We have been refreshing products based on customer requirements, and also curating products specific to special interest themes that a customer desires. And for that, we definitely need more of researchers on board in our team. We need more of a specialist. We need more of archaeologists, architects, historians. And this is how we have been creating capacity to grow in this industry. We are limited to tours, activity, sightseeing, and experiences. We are not getting into the hotel or flight bookings, because those are the tourism commodity we don't get into. And we are just refining the proposition night and day of how we can provide an excellent customer experience to any traveler who books through us. B2B, B2C, direct to customer, OTAs are not many channels in which our sales team are working in. And again, all these products are created in a way where the content is owned by us, the imagery is owned by us. We supply the content and the imagery based on the preference of B2B partner who wants to sell a particular product. So you will never find our images or our client pictures or our content being across several sites. Yeah. Every site whom we do an agreement with, we sign up with, we understand their vision of what they want us to sell, and so that accordingly we deliver it for them.
Something I noticed when it's a word that I see often, mainly in the startup world, the technology startup world and software development, whereas a lot of startups end up in incubators. You seem to be using an incubator to develop experiences. Could you just talk about the incubator that you're running?
Yes, I mean, incubation is linked to academia for us. We always thought that it becomes, it is very important to give entrepreneurial opportunities for locals so that they can become entrepreneur and operate their own tours and sightseeing business. And it is not imperative that they only do business with us, they can do with any third party. So it is more about our impact creation in the market, through which we bring more inclusion in the game of sightseeing sector, and bring in more unique faces to deliver amazing tours, walks, and experiences in a unique way. Because end of the day, in incubation, it's the storytelling. It is about research of the area, and it is all about marketing and packaging the product, which matters. This is what we teach. This is what we train locals to get onto the market and become go-to-market ready, so that they are able to sell the product as an entrepreneur and don't really rely on aggregators or any third-party suppliers. So it's a passion, I mean, when I started this business, I never got any support. It is more about a self-made scenario, self-made entrepreneurship. And people used to laugh at me that after working for so many years, you have become a tour guide now. So I used to say it is not about the tour guide. It is about sharing stories about a place which I love. And it is more about showing things differently. And for that, I used to charge a premium also. And hence, it culminated into a business over a period of time. And I said, when I started like this, India has a story at every step. Why don't I create more of people like me, so that we are able to show India in a true different sense.
Yeah, I think everybody on listening to this, the Tourpreneur community, I think most of us all started with a passion rather than business focused. Okay. And obviously, by the nature of the beast, you have to become business focused going forward. But I think the vast majority of people come into this industry driven by passion. However, as we're seeing, the industry has to professionalize. Give me 2 seconds, Sachin. I'm just going to halt the recording.
No problems.
Yeah, so the passion story is pretty typical in our industry. However, I do see, and certainly what you're doing, is we are all on a journey here of making the industry much more professional. I mean, it's not a small industry. It's a very large part of tourism and travel together. And it's the reason people travel, to have experiences, to interact with destinations and interact with people. So we are the reason people travel. So it's a significant industry. And it's one of the things we're trying to address in Tourpreneur is how do we professionalize the industry, because it can't just survive in passion, because we're interacting with other parts of the industry who are very professional. And if you have professional sectors interacting with passion-driven, passion-led sectors, it's quite easy to get taken advantage of unless you actually professionalize and train and then educate tour operators to be able to do the business practices that have to be done. Something you mentioned earlier that I'd like you to expand on. Many of our members sell direct, many of them use aggregators. Not many have built the sort of B2B network that I know you have And I'm a big fan of B2B networks, because if you make a relationship, it can last for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And that's customers coming from that B2B relationship all the time. So the cost of acquisition of getting that relationship is priced out over many years. Whereas often when people are chasing direct business, the client, they may only ever see once in their life, and they've maybe not worked at the cost of acquisition versus the profit they make from that customer. So could you just talk about your B2B side of the business, how you decided to build it, how you went about building it, and how important is it to you?
Absolutely. I mean, India is too big, and as a passion business, tour operator business comes at a number one point, which anybody can start. But yes, there has to be sales channel, there has to be business sense, and there has to be profit making when you are operating a business. B2B scenario for us has been very clean and very neat. B2B community is works with the domestic users, which is their clients, and then there is an inbound business that comes in from foreign countries to India, which we also use a nomenclature DMC, which is the destination management company, which caters to that business. For us, the B2B business has been evolving. We have a sales team which is often seen networking and also often seen offering the familiarization trips. For us, the strategy to make familiar with our product works very well in the B2B community, because they tend to understand that what's the difference in how we are offering our product, and what is our delivery, and what is the scale that we can operate upon. Much of the time, you don't get this sense when you are just shooting on emails or sending the EDMs or creating a good graphics. So B2B is all about network. It is all about meeting people, telling them the differentiators, telling them the customer experiences, and also managing the show for them. Because end of the day, when they pass on a client to you, they are passing that trust that you will be able to deliver and meet your commitment, so that the customer goes happy. And this we have been fulfilling since last several years without fail. We have never trespassed any B2B partner or got into the client directly, only because one, we have serviced them, but we also respected that relation that we received the client from the B2B partner and not from a direct channel. I think that trust has given us leverage within the B2B community, because there was an honest approach to experience delivery.
You mentioned familiar farm trips there, and just for our listeners, many of our listeners will understand what a farm trip is, but I also know we have a lot of listeners who don't understand what a farm trip is. So a familiarization trip is where some of the travel trade will come and visit an operator and be hosted and looked after and get to experience what their customers can experience going forward. So I take it you're doing farm trips for internal Indian business partners or potential business partners, and also doing farm trips from inbound international clients as well, yes?
Sorry, I mean, there was a break in the connection.
Oh, sorry. I was just discussing farm trips.
Yeah.
Some of our operators are more than aware of farm trips. I know some of our operators will actually do farm trips, but many of our operators it's a term that they're not overly familiarized with. So farm trips are where you get a bunch of travel professionals together, and you introduce them to the experience. I take it you're doing them internally in India for business partners in India and potential partners in India. You're also running international farm trips where people come into India from overseas European, USA agencies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We are doing this because till the time you don't get to taste the product or the experience, especially for the B2B market, how can you sell it? And there is no upselling strategy there. It is more about the product manager understanding the product and then putting that product into their catalogs for seasonal sales. And it has worked well for us.
So for the listeners, again, just from my own experience operating in Southeast Asia, India, many times, Nepal, countries like that, I've done a lot of farm trips. I don't actually know how many farm trips I've done. It's dozens and dozens of farm trips. I always use them, one, to discover a destination, discover a product set, discover an experience set, but they were also a means of finding out if that operator and myself had a relationship that we could work with. But the other huge benefit of farm trips I always found was the other people on the farm trips. So you were not just there for the operator who was delivering on the ground, but you were meeting a lot of other travel people on the farm trips, often from multiple countries. And there may never be a business relationship between you because of you're in different sectors, but just the learning journey that you had with all of these different travel professionals on a familiarization trip, particularly if it involved the experiences and actually experiencing the true service that was provided. I don't think I'd have been able to build my multi-day business without farm trips, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, this is what it is. The B2B channel is always developed on farm trips, is always developed on differentiation and also the price point. And as a business, once you are able to understand that what are your price benchmarks, that then it becomes very easy to approach a B2B operator, because end of the day, a tourism from business as a sector is a margins game, and one needs to understand that that the price points have to be competitive, and they have to be affordable in a way that the product can be sold, can be consumed regularly.
On a completely different subject, Sachin, I know you've been running, or in combination with academia, you've also been running certification courses for your guides or storytellers or whatever it is you're covering. Tell us a bit about the certification that you've been developing.
Well, we have been operating joint courses with universities and their joint certifications to create more people in the field as walk leaders, because looking at the tour guiding as a community, walk leading is just a very short offering. In a full tour guide scenario, which is 6 to 7 hours of sightseeing, a walking tour is only an hour and a half, maximum 2. And in 2 hours, talking about a place, telling about stories, getting to know, and able to share the visual thought line of the past. It is important that the walk leader is a good orator, has a pleasing personality, understands the subject, understands the area, and is able to communicate well. So we have been developing soft skills, also giving them an understanding of what does a walking tour mean, what does an experience mean, what does it entail, what are the points where they should keep their momentum and to create a customer delight. So this course is spread across 30 hours to 50 hours, both in hybrid and physical mode, which gives them enough understanding of becoming a walk leader and operating their own walks.
Excellent. I'm a pre-COVID, I was a regular visitor to India. I think the last trip I was there was 2018, but I've been dozens of times. It's one of my favorite destinations in the world. What's the situation in India at the moment with regards tourism? Because the world has all recovered from COVID at very different speeds. Some destinations have recovered exceedingly fast, have already grown to 2019 levels. Some destinations are ahead of 2019 levels. However, I also know there's many destinations around the world that haven't recovered and have only recovered between 20 and 50% of what they were experiencing in 2019. So what's the general tourism situation in India at the moment?
The current situation is that recovery has happened. Again, there's a lot of domestic tourism India is big, it's vibrant, and, so people are traveling from one city to another, which has given boost to domestic travel a lot. Self-drive holidays, new thematic concepts have come in. Indians are exploring India now. From inbound standpoint, still recovery has to be felt, which we see should happen in next 6 to 8 months, when there is more of relaxation on the visa, the flights, etc. But yes, there is government support coming in with many programs on infrastructure being developed. There are hygiene and safety issues which are being addressed. So it's on a recovery mode. It's not yet touched the 2019 levels, but yes, looking at the current situation, we shouldn't be far away to get on to the 2019 operating margins.
Do you get the feeling that India is a big country? It's a scaled country. It's got 1.3 billion, maybe more people. It's very young, so the average age is younger than a lot of destinations. So all of that screams to me, just one, it screams growth is going to happen internally with internal tourism, because it's a big country. You could spend years in India and not see the whole of India. So there's growth baked into the India system from a tourism perspective, without any international visitors coming. Just in India, when you have 1.3 billion people developing very quickly, and industry recently, India, I think, overtook the UK to become the 5th most highest GDP country in the world. So it's a booming place. The bottom line is India is booming. Tourism is going to get a big chunk of that. Is there an awareness from the government? Is there awareness in industry of how important tourism is going to be and how big tourism is going to be in India?
Yes, I mean, I think I will put this into two perspectives. One from my perspective, and another from the industry standpoint. As I always say, in India, we are in the biggest unaligned, culturally diverse space, and exploring India always makes a good story for lifetime.
Yeah.
And telling that story is our competency as a business in tourism activities. We all recognize, industry recognizes it, government recognizes it. It's just that it takes time. After COVID, the recovery is still being felt. The businesses have broken down. There are new businesses which are being resurrected in a different way altogether. Technology is coming as an enabler. The tourism sector definitely requires a lot of investment, both from business standpoint and both from government standpoint. To get onto this platform where we recognize tourism as the industry creators, yes, tourism bakes in a GDP. It grows our economy to a next level, and also it also supports capacity and the skill, because the unemployment issues can be mitigated through tourism and getting more and more people into hospitality and tourism sector.
Yeah. I do know from, again, reading some of the stuff you produced and watching some of the videos, the big issue above all issues, in fact, no, we'll leave that till the end. We'll speak about that at the end. One of the challenges often when I was in India, looking at the challenges of the operators on the ground, was the challenge around pricing. And pricing's a bit of a hobby horse of mine, as listeners will know. I'm always ranting on about pricing and making sure you've got value in there and pricing correctly to respect the value that you're creating for the consumer, for the guest. Price was always a challenge in India because there was so much competition and so much pressure on price down the way that was often making quality not as high as it could be, because there was price pressure all the time. And as you know, I come from an adventure travel background, and if price goes down, quality goes down, and then something has to give, and that becomes high risk. Then there's a danger element in there. You can't keep squeezing prices, otherwise you will have consequences. So what has COVID done to the pricing points? Obviously, you've dropped a lot of inbound consumers who were high spending consumers. A lot of businesses have gone out of business. So has there been with the businesses that are left standing and the new businesses opening, are people trying to address price more professionally and raise price to respect the value that's actually being offered?
To be honest with you, it's always a cutthroat competition when it is all about travel and tourism. But yes, travel has gone expensive. There are safety, hygiene issues. There is productivity management, human resource cost. Everything has gone very expensive. Right? As far as price war is concerned, or price consciousness is concerned, customer is always a king. Whatever customer desires, the prices can be altered accordingly. But yes, there is never an instance where the price is altered to a level where it is threat to the customer's journey. That shouldn't happen. That is very unethical if that thought comes in. So to manage the price war and to be exclusive in the market, constant innovation, good vision, and ability to thrive in a competition has to be there. And it is all about resilience, shared vision sort of a scenario, and co-creation with customer. Much of the time, if I give you our example, we have been co-creating our itineraries with the customers, which does bring the pricing down, because there are some inclusions or exclusions which are managed in a way where customer doesn't feel cheated or doesn't feel bad. But yes, price war, price comparisons, and price management will always be there in travel sector. All we want to do is manage it in a way where it makes sense and always create delight.
So the big issue of our time isn't demand, in my opinion. It's every destination recovering at different rates, but everybody will recover as long as we don't have another incident of everything being shut down. Destinations will all recover to a certain extent. So demand is baked into the system because people want to travel and the populations are growing and the middle class in various destinations, particularly India, is growing. So we have a baked-in demand in the tourism global network. This bank of customers that just want to travel, want to spend money, want to experience new experiences. The challenge I see for the industry is not creating demand. It's how are we going to manage this demand going forward? With the environmental challenges we have, the sustainability challenges we have, the industry to this point has played more or less lip service, in my opinion, to these issues.
I think more than that, when we call it a business, it has to be business efficiency and business productivity, which has to be right. And business efficiency can only come with the right price points. It cannot come with doing business in losses and thinking that we will do recovery later. Secondly, sustainability. As I said, sustainability is the word which can be used in business sense differently and in environment sense differently. For business to be sustainable, it has to be profit making. And if it is profit making, it can certainly contribute to the environment. But if the business is not sustainable, it's in losses, how can you create benefit for the communities or create impact in the environment? That's the question I've been looking answer for when I'm researching, when I'm meeting people, because everybody is going towards going green, sustainable, environment friendly. But what is actually happening on ground is yet to be seen from activity towards sightseeing scenario, not from the hotel or the transportation scenarios. Because in transportation, you have got EVs, you have got the green certification for hotels, but in tour and activity scenario, there is no certification as such. It is only the activity provider who has to take care of the environment where he's operating or she's operating.
And obviously, this is an incredibly complex issue, and it hurts my head every time I try to get my head around it. But as experience providers, and particularly multi-day experience providers, we're often the reason people travel more often than not. So the transport and the accommodation side is a byproduct of the reason people are traveling. They need to transport to get to a destination and they need accommodation when they get there. but the reason they're going there is to experience the great experiences. So I can't see going forward how experienced providers can ignore the other side, the accommodation and the transport. We have to take account of the whole impact that our guests, if we're generating the demand for these guests and then hosting these guests, we have to take account for the whole impact, positive and negative, that guest is doing. And one of the challenges I'm seeing going forward, as for long haul destinations in particular, is there's a perceived risk now in people's heads of long distance travel. So in the news recently, I had friends in Pakistan over the last 2 weeks on a trekking holiday in the mountains of Pakistan. Pakistan had the very bad floods, still massively, millions of people disrupted. The environment is changing, and certain destinations are going to not be the same as they were on a regular basis. And that's going to impact on people's perception of the destination. Is it a safe destination from an environmental perspective to go to or not? So this is all playing out as we speak. So from an adventure travel operator, as I was in the past, how does this impact me? Well, we go to challenging places. Now, the amount of rock falls, avalanches, extreme weather that is happening in every single destination I used to take people to has changed, and not for the better. It's changing for the worse. Like it's more occurrences of bad things happening with the environment because of global warming. So I don't have the answers for all of this. I just see things changing at such a speed that there's going to be positives and negatives in it.
Yes, I mean, I completely agree with you. And after COVID, it is all about safety and hygiene scenarios. And these things will keep on evolving. But end of the day, for the tour operator community, from my experience, the social performance has to be aligned with financial performance. Otherwise, there is a gap, and in that gap, you get all sort of mismatched products which don't bring happiness to the paying customer. Yes, there are certifications, there is awareness, there are programs which are opening up, but on ground, managing the opportunities and also bringing in local communities together and making them understand the impact on the environment and what all they can do for the environment is a very, very important thing, because it's not about the tour operator community. It is all about locals living in that area. It is all about local economies thriving in those areas where the tourist, traveler, visitor will be going and interacting. They have to sensitize the travelers on ground. What needs to be done and what doesn't have to happen. That's what it is, and we are still seeing these changes. One day you see some natural calamity happening in when people are on trek. The other day you see some rally protest is happening and the access is closed.
Yeah,
these things also have to be spoken about, because it is all about activity or a tour which leads to an experience. Experience is emotive. It is a connection to a place and it brings memories. So,
and sometimes certainly thinking back to the trips, often when they experience the experience that people remember is when things happen that weren't planned to happen. When there's disruption, when there's things that maybe be intimidating or scary. It's these things, if they're handled well, it's these things that stay in people's mind, and that is the trigger for many decades after they've actually had the experience to talk about that destination again. So sometimes these things, particularly the way the media portrays them, is always in a negative way, but sometimes they can actually be a positive experience for the people that are actually experiencing.
No, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it is more about uh, bringing in local communities and getting into sustainability scenarios, and bringing products out which are more participatory, which are more governed, which have compliance, which have a process. And that's how you will also see impact on the environment. You will also see how the skill set is growing and how delivery standards are rising.
So just to finish off here, Sachin, if I was to ask you, as a reasonably scaled operator in India, growing operator, with all the different brands, all the different stuff that we've discussed you're into, what do you see your biggest challenges over the next 2 to 5 year period?
I think our biggest challenge as an activity operator will be managing the content in the digital space, where there is a lot of cut, copy, paste, and a lot of digital clutter. How do you keep your uniqueness intact? How do you sync the content with the right channels so that it doesn't get misused? Is what I see uh, is there's a challenge which we are also mitigating by creating lot many intellectual properties. But capacity, skill building, awareness, product, there is enough. There is enough in India. You can. It's such a diverse land. That there's no dearth of it. But yes, how do you sell your products? How do you bring your products forward in front of the consumer? Though you have B2B channels also, but to get into the direct scenario is what the challenge is.
Yeah, and many of our tourpreneurs, content production is something everybody, I would say, struggles with, not just from a volume of content production that they do, but differentiate, making sure their content is different from others, because the consumer, the guest, they're looking for something that's different. They're looking for the unique. And the more we all produce the same content, the more it can be aggregated, and the more it's aggregated, the more the price point gets pressured, and it becomes an extraction economy where the operator on the ground and the people in the communities are working with are not getting the value. And all of that starts with content before it goes into the digital space. And I do see it as a huge challenge, particularly for small operators, 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, 4 person operators who don't have teams, producing unique content, updating that content on a regular basis, distributing the content to partners that respect it and use it in the correct way. All of that is a major challenge. And even with all the new tools we've got and all the new technologies we've got, sometimes it just seems to make it even harder and harder rather than easier. So it is a significant challenge. I don't have the solution for it. I do think with a lot of the new technologies coming along, the innovation space around content is huge. You're going to be able to produce much more than just photography and the written word and video. There's going to be a blending of all sorts of new technologies that allow destinations to communicate with guests in a very different way from what we're doing at the moment. And that's quite exciting, because it will really allow destinations to demonstrate their uniqueness in advance of the customer or the guest arriving. Whether small operators are going to be able to get involved in that, I'm not sure. But it's certainly some of the AR and VR stuff I've seen in the last several months is going to change how content marketing is done for travel, for sure.
Absolutely, and I completely resonate with you. But the impact for the small operator is very, very different. It's very minuscule, because AR, VR are technologies which Web 3.0, metaverse, NFTs is the play area right now, and it's a favorite area for the digital enthusiast. But for us, what we have seen is that technology is just an enabler to get you to point A to point B to help you transact. Content, the product, and the differentiations become your key selling points for the activity operators, small, big, in all sizes. the differentiation will matter a lot. Why customer chooses them versus why not somebody else. And that differentiation has to be highlighted somewhere or the other. Right now, much of the time we see when we go to a destination, it is word of mouth marketing. Much of the time we hear from people around that this activity provider is good. Why don't you just take a walk or take a particular activity with them? But that word of mouth, how can that person make it viral?
Yeah.
Is the technology, is the gap area right now, which I see can work very well if somebody bridges that gap in India.
Yeah, for sure. So for our listeners, if we do have many multi-day operators in the tourpreneur community. It's one of the fastest growing sectors of our community is the multi-day. If you're looking to reach out and add India as a new destination, please reach out direct to Sachin or reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with Sachin and let's start getting some business done going back into India. Thank you very much, Sachin. I'm sure you will not be the last. You're the first, but you won't be the last guest we're going to have on from India because it's a bit of a passion destination of mine. So I've got some other invites lined up to have some other input from the great nation of India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much.